What's going on, y'all? My name is Rainy Storm, checking in for the moon sign and the Karmic Evolutionary Astrology series. I am your cosmic root work astrologer specializing in Karmic Evolutionary Astrology. So, if you are coming to learn a little bit about past lives, if you want to learn a little bit about your moon and how it relates to the mother, or the divine feminine in your life, somebody who might have played in the divine feminine space or role in your life, you have come to the perfect place. This is a series that I've been wanting to do for quite a bit now, quite a royal time, a royal bit, but I haven't really got around to it. But since we are in this space, and I feel like collectively we have needed to kind of grounding in a sense of not earthly grounding, but root grounding, figuring out who we are, figuring out where we come from, being in this place of remembrance. I think this would be a great time to explore what that means, especially since this is like one of my favorite things to do in astrology, one of my favorite subjects, I feel like, in astrology, upon many. This is something that I really wanted to uncover and have been uncovering for quite some time for myself and also you. So, this will be a cool series, cool recap of some of the things that I've went over, some of the things that I have learned. And we're going to start from Aries and work our way to Cancer this week, and then so on and so forth for the next coming weeks. So you could definitely check this series out from Thursday to Sunday. And we'll move on from there. And if anything changes in the remainder time, I'll definitely let y'all know for sure. So what is I want to kind of go over again to what the moon is in astrology, and then talk a little bit about how it kind of co-collaborates with karmic and evolutionary astrology. Now when we have the moon in astrology, this is the energy that we're talking about. First off, is ruled by Cancer. The moon energy cycle changes every 2.5 to 3 days. So every time, every 2 to 3 days, the moon will be in another sign. So the moon being in that particular sign, the energy is covered around this particular. So for example, if the moon collectively is transiting through Gemini, you might feel a little bit more erratic. You might have a lot more energy. You can also be quite moody because Gemini is kind of like over here and over there. You might be find it hard to like really focus on one thing. Or you could just find yourself like diving into a lot of things. So you might see yourself having multiple tabs on your screen. Just example and things like that. So the moon energy really covers over like the emotional state. This is where we talk about like our roots, our actual like family lineages, our past incarnations as well. This is also where we talk about what else did I put on this pretty paper? The divine feminine energy, as well as children, as well as like your home base, your home state, your internal home, and also I would even go to say your physical home. Usually we talk about that in fourth house astrology, but also the moon can cover these hidden places or hidden parts of yourself as well. This is where your emotional needs, where you can find healing. Your fears are also located here. How you act when you're in like or reacting to something or in a crisis situation. Your moon sign is going to be the energy sometimes that you will exude in these particular situations. Also, the relationship to your mother is another place and another thing that we can see here with the moon sign astrology. And that's some of the things that we'll be covering as well. And I like to think of the moon as the soul of the person, right? So when you're the uninhibited youngest person, a baby or whatever, before you like grow up into your environment, your moon is the energy that you experience when you're a child. It's the energy that's most comfortable to you when you're like really being in yourself, being in your energy. The moon is like kind of the energy that really highlights this energy for you. So that's why in that last video that I made for the November 2023 astrology, when I was talking about even introducing this series and bringing it to full, I talked about really getting to know your moon sign and your placement, your house placement for your moon sign. So I hope y'all took the time to do your homework Okay. Um, and when this series drops, I hope that you enjoy it and take the time to learn and kind of understand, even if it's not your particular moon sign. You might even know somebody with this particular moon as well. North node and south nodes are the nodes of the moon, is like what we call it. Oh, also I want to mention that the moon is also the timekeeper. It's the keeper of time, as well as Capricorn. Cancer, like I said, is nostalgic because it does kind of dive into these past cycles. It also rules over the waters, the oceanic waters. And if we're talking about ancient Comedian uh, memory, this is where Thoth would reside. I would like to say Ra too, because he was like the keeper of, you know, underworld stuff as well, but we'll just go with Thoth for now. And let me see if there's anything else. Your subconscious, unconscious, and your dream world as well. Um, and also people who know you the closest and the most. Now, when we do talk about evolutionary astrology, this is the energy that we see where you are most comfortable, which is that South Node energy, right? So this is like your past that you've come from, some of the lessons that you know. And honestly, when we do talk about South Node astrology, sometimes it might not actually be the most comfortable, your South Node energy. You know, depending on what's aspecting or what's afflicting this particular South Node, there could have been a lot of different lessons that you might have not learned in your past life. So you can find this energy to be comfortable in this particular life, that South Node there. But you also can realize over time that, wow, there's probably stuff that I haven't cleared in this life. I'll give an example for myself, especially in tropical astrology, being a South Node in Gemini, in the fourth house. And one of the things that I can honestly say that I have experienced was being in a place where I was I went off to college, did my thing and everything. And I remember telling my mom that I would never leave, you know, Texas at the time. I was like, I don't really have a desire to really go anywhere. Like, I would always stay. I don't really know why I was telling her that. I can't really remember why I was telling her. I don't know. I had to come back to y'all with that. But I just told her that I would never leave, and it wasn't really something that I was really considering to do. But then as I really started to like really dive into myself and get to know myself, and things started coming out, I came, out my proverbial closet and I wanted to go explore the world, which the south or north node is in Sagittarius for me in my 10th house. And I started, actually, before I even took off to when I actually moved over to Atlanta, I had bought a I started a podcast. I bought some DJ equipment and I started DJing and podcasting and basically made my own podcast radio show. And I decided that I wanted to go take it to Atlanta, where I felt like there was a base of people and community for me to like actually expand on that. So leaving fourth house home, my comfort, my and also moon is rules over the fourth house too. So leaving my home space, leaving where I felt the most comfortable in a sense, right? And then going the distance, which is Sagittarius, going to a foreign place or going to a place that you've never been, which I had been to Atlanta before I moved to Atlanta, like visited, but then I ended up actually moving there because I was just like, no, I had a whole. I'm not gonna. I'll say this for a whole nother story for another time. I'll add it to the North Node and Sagittarius series, and we can talk a little bit about some of the lessons that I've learned from that. But that's just an example of how this evolutionary energy can really like play out. So that's a little bit about that. Now, um, I think this energy, and I hope that going over this stuff specifically with y'all can give you a little bit of background as to not only where you are right now, but exactly where you've been, and just figuring out the best ways to be able to not only harness this energy, but also transmute it into something bigger. So, okay, well, I ran my mouth. Okay, let's go ahead and get it started with Aries moon. So we'll be talking a little bit about the energy of the moon, the past. We'll start from the past energy, so where you might have been in a past life, and what you might have been doing in a past life. Then we'll talk about the relationship to your upbringing, your mother, or divine feminine energy. And then we'll talk about how to integrate this energy within your current incarnation in life. So, first, basically, Aries is the first sign in the zodiac. So, you can also apply this to the first house, just some of the energy here, but we'll talk and cover over Aries moon. So, with this energy over here, let me get my little nuts. um, with the Aries moon in the first house, this energy that you can experience is going on these long journeys, these solo journeys. I know sometimes when we think about fire signs, a lot of times we think of fire signs as like the gatherers of, which still definitely can be the gatherers of communities and things like that. But when you look at Aries versus its opposite sign, which is Libra, Libra is more like collaborative and collective energy, and Aries is more like soloist kind of energy. Aries is definitely okay, especially Aries moon here. It's solitude, being alone, being in places where this is like, honestly, Aries moon is like the energy that's like, I want to go on a trip and I don't care who goes with me. Like, I can have a group of people who go with me, but I also will go on the trip by myself solo, no problem. Like, it's nothing to me. So, it's like, I'm gonna book this trip. If y'all wanna come, y'all can, and if y'all don't, y'all don't. And that's just like a cool snippet of example, but that's the energy that Aries kind of comes with the moon here. This is where you see somebody who could have been uh I know we talk about the soloist, but I also think of Aries because it's like this warrior like energy too here. So I like to think of somebody who's like very strategic, and somebody who could have been in command or in charge of some things, or in charge of a community of people, who had to be a leader amongst a group of people, even if they didn't necessarily want the job, or even if they didn't necessarily want to be in the direct line of those things. They probably figured that they were the best person to do it. They're like, I really don't want to do this, but I know I'm probably the best person to do this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and step in, or just naturally stepping up to the plate because nobody else felt that they could, or felt that they could be a leader in this space. So you would definitely see Aries energy here for sure. Also too, this is where you see the knight as well. Like we talk about the knight in shining armor. This is any type of soldier, warrior, um, somebody who's ready, who can always be ready to like go into some type of battle, whether that's a physical battle, wars. This is somebody who could have experienced being in wars, or if it was like actual battles. Now, I will say this is like more so mercurial, so I could say like talking battles and stuff like that, like talking back and forth and things like that. But this is more like, like I said, more physical. You can also see somebody here too who's very physically fit, right? Somebody who's very physically built, or worked on their physical stature and things like that. Maybe was very good with like weaponry, especially reincarnating in this life. You might find yourself in some type of sport, or if you're not in some type of sport, maybe you train with some, like I said, some type of swords, weapons, even like hand, weapons and things like that, stuff like that. So that's something that you can definitely see. This is also somebody who could have been very impulsive as well in the past life. Um yeah. Let me see if yeah. Also moved around from place to place. This is somebody that could have, been a pioneer and was very much so, like I said, an explorer. The Fool card is actually coming up. I didn't write it down, but the Fool card is actually coming up for me with this Aries energy here. Like, you just kind of have a little bag packed, you know what I'm saying? Your little weapon stored on the back, and you just kind of go for it and see what's out there. Um, you would be the person that would go places that most people wouldn't. And then when you came home to tell your story, people were like, "Wait, you did that and you did that too? You was fighting who? You was fighting, you was where? You was doing what?" You know what I'm saying? Like, it could have been that kind of energy with Aries here. Like, just very, and even like thrill seeking to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like needing to have that thrill, needing to have like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's hard. It could be hard for Aries to like fully sit completely still because they feel like they're on this journey. Um, Now, before I get into the mother, the relationship to the mother, I kind of want to get more so into, because I talked a little bit about the characteristics, a little bit about this Aries moon energy in the past, but I kind of also want to talk to and speak to the ancestral past and roots and home. I basically explained like the matriarchy could have been highly regarded as warriors, hunters and gatherers of the community. So these are the women, or like I said, the divine feminines in the um, community or the villages that, they was the ones that was actually seeking maybe the food for the group or the community. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were making sure that the community was also very protected and things. So this is some of the energy that you could have definitely seen from this. You also could have had family members as well too. I'm gonna have to go back to that. But you also could have had family members as well too in your past who fought, not only fought other people physically, like fighting over land physically, or like actually fighting each other. There could have been like battles over, certain, things, or just, a lot of back and forth and things like that. Just a lot of hot heads, and, you know, so it definitely could have got a little turnt on that side of things. They're usually the leaders of the group. He could have had a lot of ancestry, or that probably were like prime leaders of the group, or like I said, they could have just kind of went off and did their own thing versus staying in like whatever familial situation that they were in. If like the home or the family group was like very like traditional and kind of just stayed at their plot, you could have been like the first to actually leave. It could go a couple of ways, but you could have been the first to actually leave your home and go do something completely different, which probably threw your family off, you know. Um, Also, too, especially if it's afflicted, your moon is afflicted, or it has any harsh aspects to it, you could have had injuries to the head, scars, or the brain, or even like mental illness. And I know we can all say, well, everybody deals with a little mental illness here and there, but we deal with these kind of illnesses in different ways. Our body stores these illnesses, if you will, in different parts of our bodies. And for the Aries, since it rules the head, this is something that you could have had. So you could have had, you could experience specifically. Now I know we could talk about the rising sign in this, but just thinking about like past incarnations and things like that, just the whole person. There could have been like injuries, like I said, or scars, or just something particularly that has to do with the face. Even like deformities. You could have had ancestors who've had like, or maybe larger skulls and things like that, because Aries, like I said, it rules the head and it's the ram. So just having like a larger head or skull. You could have had ancestors too that were also either the babies of the family, because I mean, I know Aries is the first sign, but they could have either been the babies of the family, or they could have even been the oldest, because Aries is the first. But usually, because it's the first, I also think of Aries because it's like the baby. So they could have been the babies of the family too. as well. So they had to, or uh, being the oldest, they might have had to take up, like I said, a lot of leadership positions or leadership roles and lead the family in some kind of aspect. Um, also too, they might have had intricate, depending on what kind of place that you were from, they might have had intricate headpieces or headdresses as well in tradition, like for their heads, like I said, because Aries rules the bread. Aries rules the head, so they might have had like very elaborate head pieces or crowns and things like that. They could have, and also like the way that they dress, but um, specifically the headpiece. I was seeing headpieces and things like that, like whatever it is that they put on their head or whatever it is that they put on their crown was like very sacred in some way. Um, Yeah, let me see. Do. The also one another thing that I wanted to say about the ancestors is they could have lived in a place with sun, a lot of hot places, but it might have been surrounded by a body of water or not too far from a body of water just to kind of have that cool down. That's another energy that you could have experienced too. But then I'm also seeing as I'm saying this, Aries, as you go on this long journey, you leave from that hot place and maybe you're in a colder place, like with snow, which, like I said, for the spirit of Aries, that might have made you feel a little isolated, a little depressed. So you probably might have stayed close to hot areas. But most of the time, like I said, you might have gravitated towards places that had like a lot of sun and a lot of water. I keep feeling like I see a spider web in like my eye, but then when I look, I don't see it. Okay, anyway. Um, and I also put things could have been or moved fast, and there could have been like a self focus. Like people were usually focused on their own um, needs, just really being in a place of like really trying to figure out how they can take the best care of themselves in whatever ways, and things like that. Also, pretty assertive and things of the like. I can also see that happening as well for the ancestry here. Now, going down the bloodline and passing that energy on to the mother. Oh, sorry. Passing that energy over into the mother could have been the only child or the baby of the family, very short-tempered, as well here. This is somebody who you can see that's very like not only assertive, but they're like, okay, if this is what I want, this is how I'm gonna get it, this is how I'm gonna go about it. Um, they could have kind of pushed you outside of your comfort zone, and um I know a lot of times in the world we talk about how sometimes you have to be pushed out of your comfort, but this isn't, you know, I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with being pushed out of your comfort, because sometimes being pushed out of your comfort zone is the only way that you, for some people, can evolve. But sometimes it's also okay to be gently led outside of your comforts. Little things that happen around you or in situations that can like shift your perspective or shift the way you think about things or shift how you can relate to things instead of like being forced out of it. So you could have had a mother who maybe forced you out of these comforts. It wasn't like a gentle like nudge or tap. It's like, no, this is what you're gonna do. This is how we're gonna do it. This is how it's gonna get done. Go. You know what I mean? Like, so this is definitely something that you could have experienced as a child. You also could have had a mother who either was the type of person in the home, if she had a partner, she probably took on a lot of the responsibilities herself. With this energy, she probably took on a lot actually, on her own, or maybe had a partner who took, which usually, like I said, I usually see the mother that takes on a lot. And she could have been, like I said, a single mother, and just had to take on a lot of different responsibilities. And it could have been a situation where you either have a mother who's very enthusiastic and maybe even a little bit overbearing in your life, or you could have had a mother who, because she was so self-focused on the things that she had going on, she didn't really have the most time to she didn't really have the most time to like nurture and care for you in the way in which you needed. But she definitely, like I said, she pushed you out that comfort zone. You know what I mean? Or she definitely got you going. Um, and I will say, if there are harsh aspects to this particular moon, and depending on where the moon is, there could have also been, especially with moon, physical violence in the home, because Aries is Mars ruled, which Mars is ruled over Aries and Scorpio, and it is the warrior. So there could have also been some type of physical, and sometimes even in some cases sexual violence as well, with the moon here. Not saying that applies to everybody, but I do want to mention that there's some things that could happen, just overly aggression or overly heated hot energy that can combust into things, because the moon Aries doesn't really, Aries is not necessarily tucked and comfortable always in the moon. But that's not to say it's a good or a bad thing. It's just Aries has to learn how to work with this energy here. Now, I will say, what else do I want to say about it? You could have either grown up. I know I talked about the overbearingness, but there's also a slight chance that you could have grown up, especially with the moon here, very independent. It could have been something that was innately in you to grow up and have this type of independence, or you probably had to take over some type of responsibility at a young age, or like I said, this was the energy because the mom or the divine feminine of the upbringing had a lot of stuff that she had to take care of on her own, or was just doing. Even if she did have a partner, she just took care of a lot of stuff on her own, that you had to kind of learn how to kind of like maneuver and try to figure things out and stuff like that. So it just made you very independent. And there's nothing wrong with being independent, but y'all just make sure that the independence doesn't come with self-neglect, and try to make sure that the independence comes with, if you need to reach out for support, or if you need to reach out for help, and making sure that y'all definitely do that. So I want to kind of wrap this up a little bit. I think that's all I had for Aries and past lives. I am going to be making more videos about this particular moon sign, but I'm sorry, y'all. My throat, I need some water. What you want? The way to really alchemize this energy is naturally, like I said, Aries is a more independent sign. But it doesn't mean that Aries does not experience its emotions. Like I said, Aries is like the baby of the zodiac, so it still experiences this childlike kind of energy. So I think things that really bring like natural and pure excitement, that zest for adventure, zest for seeking new territory, and really being in the fullness of you. Also, just having like this innate sense of confidence. Um, I think that that's something that can really help you aid in alchemizing and really integrating this energy in full. Physical activity, especially with the moon here, for all signs really, but especially with the moon here, you want to make sure that you're like physically fit, physically getting yourself, um, basically like really, because it's a lot of energy being, with this fire energy here. So you just want to make sure that you're like physically getting yourself right, physically getting yourself in a place where you're combating that energy so it's not stuck to your body, right? And so when you are expressing your emotions, they're not coming off explosive. You can just openly express whatever it is that you want to express without like holding everything in your spirit and on your body and spirit as well. So that's a little bit about this Aries moon energy, and also how it relates to your not only maternal past, but just past lives and ancestral lives and homes and things. And I hope that y'all got um some information, some new information, and really can like resonate with this for those of y'all that do have Aries moon, and even for those of y'all that don't have an Aries moon. Like I said, if you know somebody that has an Aries moon, or you're just interested in learning about astrology, I think it's a very powerful just energy in general, and it's just figuring out, like I said, how to wield it and things. So yeah, that's all I have for y'all. Y'all already know what it is. It is a rainy storm checking in, checking out. We're gonna be coming to Taurus moon the next tomorrow. And yeah, I will see y'all soon. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all's November what is this as I'm recording this? November 2nd. I can't even see it for real, but I hope y'all have the best day, and I will talk to y'all soon. It's a rainy storm checking in, checking out without a doubt. Deuces. If I could find my recorder coming off. Deuces.